Good afternoon, everyone. It's July 6th, Sunday, July 6th, Sunday, 2025. You're watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois. You're joining me for a channel update. I think it's the 17th channel update. I don't have that much to talk about, but I think we'll talk for about an hour. Just do our normal thing, look at the statistics of the channel, talk about past and future stuff. Let's check in with the chat. Why we have that. YouTube says 15 concurrent viewers. This is our normal Sunday slot where we do our play-by-mail games, which I occasionally use for these updates. So we've got our normal play-by-mail group here, it seems. Let me see what I've got here for my slides. It's our normal outline for the update. Preliminary stuff here. You can find Co-op for Two. In addition to this YouTube channel, we have a guild on Board Game Geek where we plan out what games to play. I've got a thread there with all the games as they come in. You can let me know what games you're most interested in. There's a Discord where we do a lot of chatting, and there's a whole New York Noir section, which is the board game I've been working on for the last 3 years, mystery game. There's also a Facebook that I don't spend too much time on, and a Patreon for people who want to financially support this channel. You can find links to all of those on this YouTube channel. Just click on the Co-op for Two icon and you'll get to a page where you've got all links to all of these things. All right, before we get into channel stats, let's see if anyone has any projects they want to talk about. So if you look at the chat here, you'll see these crowns, purple crowns with number 1, number 2. This is YouTube forcing this stuff down our throat. I don't want this, but to me, it's just visual noise. But YouTube has this new feature where it's keeping track of who talks the most in the chat. You can turn this off for yourself so you're not included in it, but that really doesn't do any good. It's not like I hate it. It's pointless little noise. In fact, now that I think about it, I can't fix it for the chat on YouTube, but I can use some CSS injection to get rid of it from this screen that you're looking at here, which I will do. Okay, we can fix that. Is anyone else working on any projects they want to talk about? I guess we can get to it. What I normally do with these updates is I talk about stuff, and I'll occasionally check in with the chat. So if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about, feel free to write it anytime. Just because I don't respond to it immediately doesn't mean I won't get to it. I will get to it at the end. All right, so let's look at some stats for the channel. Essentially, things have been going down the last couple of months. This says it's about normal. I have the live view we could bring up if we wanted to. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, okay, so here's our live viewing here. It says does its normal thing, but really the subscribers have been, and viewing has been down. But essentially, if you look at this channel over the history, like the last 365 days, it's pretty much the same. It never changes. In fact, if we look at it, oh, I don't know what was going on in December, but if we look at the whole lifetime, 4 years of the channel, you can see it's mostly flat. I guess if you were a company trying to grow your business, you would not be happy about this, but that's okay. We don't have to worry about that. Last update was about 5 months ago, but you can see 30% less subscribers, 20% less views than less watch time than normal. That's okay. I think the easier way to see what videos and live streams were watched, that's not what I want. Last 90 days. Okay, I mean, there's not much to look at, but you can see what the top live streams were. City of Six Moons, which got some attention because Shut Up and Sit Down put up a review that got like 200,000 views. I put up a review that has a couple hundred views, but that's just the way things go. But that must have made people curious about it. And interestingly, our first play of Curtain Call got a bunch of views, as did Detective Box Woodlock University. I'll talk about all these in a second. This is the live streams. What about the published videos? Can we see? I guess I didn't publish too many videos. Oh, here you can see. Oh, I don't know how to make sense out of any of this. Estimated revenue 166. Yeah, that was the one time I forgot to turn off ads for a day. So that's where that $1 thing in. Normally on this channel, and I have to explicitly keep telling YouTube, don't put ads on this channel. I don't want ads on any of the videos. I don't know what that does to the channel. I'm sure it's not good for YouTube since they don't make any money off the videos either. But you should see no ads on any of my videos. Let's go back to this for a second. How popular are the Sunday live streams? Can we tell that? They're not very popular. I mean, you can see how many people attend them, but is there a way for us to see? Let's see. Top live streams. Okay, so you can see that probably be easier if we could see. And there are people on YouTube who know how to use these analytics a lot, but I really have no idea. You can see that the Sunday Dear Holmes live streams are not that popular. Is there a way for us to go back? Can we just look at the last one? How about that? Let's go to content. We'll do it this way. Okay, so if we look at let's look at the first episode, because whenever you do a series, only the first one gets viewed. Each subsequent part 2, part 3, all drop viewers. But if we look at here, This will be a good example of the Dear Home series. There's not many viewers of Dear Homes. But that's all right. We enjoy it. It's a very different group that tunes in for the Sunday live streams versus tunes in for the other gameplays or the reviews. So we'll talk about that in a second, but let's go back to this page for a second. So normally this channel gets about 2 to 3 subscribers per day. And here you can see I just organized this differently about what videos people were interested in. They tend to tune in for the newer games, but here's Curtain Call, quite an old hunter-killer game. And concurrent viewers, all of this looks about normal for every month of the channel for years. Okay, but now let's talk about something more interesting. What, in the last few months, what were the highlights from my perspective of the games we played? So somewhere around March, we had a month of science fiction games. That was quite fun, including Murder on the Moon. Took us 14 hours and 4 parts. Very interesting, very fun. An Unsolved Case File, Sandra Ivy. That changed my opinion quite a bit about the Unsolved Case Files games. Previously, I had thought they were from the first one, Harmony Ashcroft. These are all over Amazon, the Unsolved Case Files, but we've played a couple now that have been better than expected. And Sandra Ivy was really the highlight, a little science fiction themed case. Highly recommended. Jonathan Warner and I and a couple other people played the second threat campaign in the Seventh Citadel. Took us 70 hours over 15 parts. We played a mail-based game called Mail Case over a series of 4 episodes written by a viewer, Anna, called Death of an Editor. Very fun. We've done a couple of these now by Matt C, and now Anna took her shot at it. Very enjoyable, very cool. We played Hunt the Killer's Curtain Call, 21 hours, 6-box set, which was shockingly good. I have a review of that recorded. It'll be live soon. City of Six Moons, a very different, interesting puzzle board game thing. You can watch the Shut Up and Sit Down review or watch my review, which is up on the channel. We played Backstory's Emerald Wedding Anniversary, which is my new favorite choose your own adventure small card game. You can see my review of that. We're 2 chapters into Heredity, Book of Swan, which is behind me here, which is a narrative campaign board game, but set over 5 chapters with some real vibe of Seventh Citadel, that kind of thing, with a map you lay out, but some different stuff going on, some very clever mechanics, and I am very much enjoying it. Looking forward to playing chapters 3, 4, and 5. We've been playing them Wednesday late night at 11 p.m. So if you're interested in that, you might want to stop by this Wednesday. We played this box behind me here, Detective Box Woodlock University, a big long set. Took us 20 hours to play that. Quite good. A serious online component of that's more ambitious than most of these games we play. And I had some real frustrations during it, but overall I thought very good. I did record a review of it. In fact, I have caught up on the backlog of reviews of all the games we live stream. In general, on this channel, I tend to prefer the longer playthrough games, multi-part even better, and I try to record a review, a spoiler-free review of every game we play. So when we finish playing a game, we talk about it for a big long chunk of time full of spoilers. So it's sort of a review with spoilers for people who have played it. Then I try to record a shorter spoiler-free review, but sometimes it's more fun to play the game, so sometimes the game reviews get backlog. I finally caught up, so there are about 10 or so reviews that I finally did record. They're on YouTube. They're not live yet. If I put them all out at once, everyone starts unsubscribing. People don't like the notifications. YouTube doesn't like it. So I sort of drip them out. But if you are a Patreon supporter, you can see all those a little early. Rob says, the first letter of the recent Dear Homes is showing 275 views. Why the discrepancy with the stats? I don't really understand what's going on with the stats. Sometimes they're inconsistent between what Google Analytics say and what the game says, or sometimes the date limitations do it. I also have started doing for the last year or so, when we play a game on the live stream, after we finish, I try to just put one paragraph, quick, spoiler-free mini review. For those of you who don't want to watch the live stream but are considering buying the game, you could just visit the live stream video and look for my top comment, which is a spoiler-free mini review. I did do another tabletop mystery game news segment talking about new games in the mystery game space that are hitting crowdfunding or new released. If you're interested in the latest games coming out in this space of mystery games, you might want to check that out. And then there's just a little summary of what I just talked about. Okay, here's a little Patreon support. Currently, $143 a month is coming into this channel from 35 subscribers, which is about one new subscriber per month. It's dropped a little bit. It hit a high of $156 a month, and it's dropped down a bit. I do want to thank the Patreon supporters of this channel. It makes it easier to play games on this channel. It makes it easier for me to purchase new games without worrying too much about it. In fact, someone on the Discord just mentioned that the Norwegian, I think they're Norwegian company called Detective for a Day just released a new case, so I ordered that. It makes it much easier for me to do that. Also, Adobe costs like $70 a month, which is ridiculous. I have to figure out a way to get over it. That's what I use for editing. So half of that goes to that. The Patreon supporters have made it possible for me to have this nice top-down camera that is a full frame camera. So to the Patreon supporters of this channel, thank you very much. Now, you could ask yourself, you might ask yourself, what is that? I mean, look, if you compare yourself to other people, that's a great recipe for getting depressed. And I accidentally heard Paul Grogan talk about his Patreon supporters on YouTube. Paul Grogan of the Gaming Rules channel, which is a very good channel, has had a week celebrating and playing games. And he was playing games and saying, I'm taking the week off from doing paid content. And often on that channel, he does paid playthroughs or paid rules explanations. And he was taking a week off from that just to play games and was talking about having like 1,200 Patreon supporters. So there you can see the difference between having 1,200 Patreon supporters and 35 supporters. But this is not my job. So if you compare yourself to other channels, it's very depressing. If you just say, we're here to have fun and play games, then I'm very appreciative of that. Would Caden Live be an alternative? There is a good free video editor that's not Adobe Premiere. The only real problem with moving away from Adobe Premiere is that I've written some very substantial plugins for Adobe Premiere, especially to do the top-down overlays, but a whole bunch of plugins that I've coded for Adobe Premiere. So that's why it's hard for me to move away from Adobe Premiere. I forget what the big open source one is, but when they have better support for the inset top-down, I use some fancy stuff. I used it more when I did more playthroughs that were recorded on Adobe Premiere. But in my videos, when you see me switching to the top-down with the inset, there are some things I do that my plugins make easier. All right. If you are a Patreon supporter of this channel, please do let me know if you have requests for specific games or times or stuff like that. Rob says, it's not the quantity, it's about the quality. Well, that too. I really am very appreciative of the people that have been willing to support this channel, not just through Patreon, but in other ways, just encouraging me on this channel, hanging out, chatting, all that. So it's not just all about the finances. Okay, let me give a little mini update on New York Noir, because that's where most of my time has been going lately. I did do a design diary focused on New York Noir on June 1st. The tools that I've written for writing cases and managing it are actually now being used quite heavily, and I think they're working quite well. I'm always adding features. I just taught Jonathan Warner how to use it, and another author, Martinez. We did get a new box for New York Noir there. You can see it. The back is actually the actual more interesting thing to look at. There's the back of the box, new back of the box. Adam Hall is the artist who did this. I don't love the glossy box. I think we're going to have another more matte one done, but I'll be bringing that with me to Gen Con this month, July 31st to August 3rd. I did finish and put up my third case, the longest case, Foxtrot East, which will take you, it's taken some players 16 hours to play through. It's a big, long, multi-day case with some new mechanics. It really shows some of the features of New York Noir. So if you're curious, don't start there. But there are quite a few cases now that you can play for New York Noir, and Peter's online tools make it even easier. And Anna has written 3 cases that she's dying for us to play on the channel, which we're going to get to very soon in the next month or two. The major push is that Logan is finishing up the building art. You see an example of it from Times Square. He's now done every neighborhood, basically, 35 neighborhoods, hundreds of building art, and now in the next month or so, he and I are going to go through and get all this building art into the actual current used maps, build a new map atlas, and make other fixes to the city, to New York City, that Logan has found while doing his research. I will be playing New York Noir, running a couple games of it at Gen Con. At the end of the month. There are people signed up for the 2 sessions I've scheduled, but if you're interested in playing the game and will be at Gen Con, let me know. I'll have it with me. I'm happy to set up some time for people to play or look at it or talk about it. If you're interested in writing cases, I'd always love to talk about that. The main thing that I've been gearing up for is adding support for play-by-mail cases. It's sort of the holy grail of New York Noir from my perspective, because I love the play-by-mail cases. That's where you get a reply once a week or so in the mail, and you submit your moves. It's sort of forced slow play, which I'm really a fan of. And I'm in the process of writing the play-by-mail support. Lawrence, who's in the chat, who has a site called Detective Club where he has a mail-based case that he's in the process of writing. I don't remember if I know people can download the first couple letters, but I don't know if the cases are complete. Has been tiptoeing into looking at the code base. I'd love to have his help doing that. There's a lot more work on the play-by-mail that needs to be done, but I do think we're going to get there. Perry says, don't forget to contributors using other than Patreon. I mean, there are some people who financially support the channel through PayPal, but the other support, if it's just encouragement, if it's adding your thoughts to the playthroughs, the reviews, all of that is appreciative. Marty says, I love the Dear Homes Audible. Okay, I don't know what that means, but maybe you're talking about the Dear Homes professionally recorded audio that they provide. Okay, if you're interested in New York Noir, writing a case especially, or playtesting cases, or doing other stuff, I'd love to have more people involved in that project. Let me talk a little bit about upcoming plans. Is there a better... Should I have it on this screen? No, this is better for this stuff. All right, so I'm getting a little bit of the itch to play more of these sort of hybrid board games with narrative in addition to the pure mystery cold case games. I think I'll try to continue that. Maybe one day a week. We've been playing Heredity. There are a couple other campaign games I have that have this narrative vibe, like Seven Citadel and Sleeping Gods, and there's a couple more. That Flashpoint Fire Rescue Legacy. So I think maybe I'll try to mix in some more of those into the channel. As long as I have at least one person to join me in the chat, it doesn't feel quite so lonely and can feel enjoyable to play. I do want to get back to playing more Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective fan cases, more New York Noir cases to play on the channel. There are a couple, I occasionally get requests to film some review, sort of top 10 roundup videos, like best Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective cases. I have a couple other ideas. I tend not to do those so much, but I think I have a couple that I do want to write. Rob was saying I should do a Dear Holmes review. In October, we normally do a sort of marathon of spooky games, and this October will be no different. Jonathan Warner has created a thread on the Board Game Geek Guild for Co-op for Two, suggesting what games we play through, and there's a nice big list already. But if you have some spooky, scary games that you think we should play in October, that would be the place to do it. And again, as I said, I will be in Gen Con, at Gen Con at the end of the month. If you're going to be at Gen Con, I hope you'll see, if you see me, say hello. It rarely happens. In fact, it never happens. So it would be fun for me if you come up and say hello. Don't pay any attention if it looks like I'm busy or talking to someone or whatever. Come say hello. But if you know ahead of time you're going to be at Gen Con and you watch the channel, let me know ahead of time and I'll bring you a little espresso mug for the channel that I have plenty of. But I won't bring them unless I know people are going to be there. For the last couple years, I've been doing a sort of run through of all the games coming to Gen Con and which catch my attention. But honestly, this year, there's so few that it's not worth the trouble. There are a couple. There's the Lord of the Rings Pandemic, Fate of the Fellowship, which is mostly getting glowing reviews, but there are some rumblings of discontent that the board is too busy, that they've fallen into the Defenders of the Realm problem there, but some other issues of randomness. It's very interesting. I'm very curious to see what I think of it. And then Vantage, which has gotten a sort of perfect rollout of reviews claiming it's the best game ever made, and it just got perfectly orchestrated. Jeremy Stegmaier from Stonemaier Games has gotten the pre-publicity review copy system perfected. But it looks like a good game. It looks very interesting. It looks like he's trying to learn from Seventh Continent, Seventh Citadel, but it's not campaign. It's one-off stuff and very short narrative. In some ways, it feels like I shouldn't like it. Even though it's half of exactly what I want, it's half of what I don't want. And I am very curious to see if I like it as much as everyone else or whether I don't like it. Dungeon Dive has a review of it where he says it's exactly what he wants, a sort of short, bite-sized narrative, but not too much reading. So all of those things kind of are not quite what I want. So I'm very curious to try Vantage. And Fate of the Fellowship, but there's nothing I'm really looking forward to coming to Gen Con that I know about. Okay, that's it. Let's check in with the chat, see if there's other stuff people want to talk about. When is Jesse coming to Spiel Essen? Well, Essen is the big popular board game convention in Germany. Probably not going to happen. I don't really... It's not like I cover conventions for this channel, and I don't like to leave the house. So everything adds up against it. All right, 30 minutes. This could be a very short channel update, unless people have other things to talk about. Let me put this game back on the shelf. Is there anything new out similar to the Witches game we played some time ago? The Witches game. Do you mean the game? You mean the deluxe game called... Oh, I'm blanking on the name, but it's the company that made 3 boxes. We've played 2 of them. We played the... Is it called Witch? It's not called Witchcraft, but it's called... What is it? What is that game called? They made 3 games. I did a review of them, and we did a long playthrough. In the end, there was sort of a deluxe thing we put out. And then the second game we played had a Ouija board. What? Witchery Spell. Yes, thank you. Witchery Spell. That's right. Witchery Spell is what you're talking about. We've played the 2 best games from them. We played Witchery Spell, and we played the other one I can't remember. And then there's another sci-fi one that doesn't get the best reviews. We are going to play in October Root of All Evil, which is a very deluxe boxed game. So actually that might scratch that itch for you in October. Marty Moose says, what's your first impression about League of Mysteriology? League of Mysteriology was talked about on the Tabletop News. It's a subscription-based service that looks like a play-by-mail system, but it's online. I did sign up for it, but I haven't checked it out yet, but I will. Any news on the Miami hospital game? So Invisible Man is asking about a game series that we played on the channel. That was my top game of 2024. You can watch my holiday 2024 game guide or best games of 2024. And the game that was my number 1 was Medical Mysteries New York City Emergency Room. And they've been promising a follow-up set in Miami. And it's out it's out in a different language. I forget what's the native language there, but it's not yet made it to the US. Flatline Miami is what the box is called. As soon as that comes out, we will play it on this channel. Really was a special game, done very well, and I am curious to try it. You can see a couple new games behind me as well. This Hunt a Killer box, The Final Act. I've sort of come around on Hunt a Killer, get ready to give them more chances. I've played some bad Hunt a Killers, and now we played some very good Hunt a Killers. So I'm more curious to try some of the other ones. Casey has a very kind word about my holiday roundup video. That holiday video was misnamed, but I go over like 70 different games in a couple dozen categories. That is the video I recommend to people who ask me what mystery games should I play that I haven't yet, because I talk about lots of different games. Let's see. Anything else to talk about? I've been feeling a little bit of malaise lately. I don't know whether it's the watching other YouTube board game channels making me a little, I don't know, jealous is the right word. Just, like I said, you look at you compare yourself to other things and you start to not feel so good. But I think it's also that when I play a game on this channel, with the channel, we all play together, it's a lot of fun. And I would do more of it, but I have to stop myself sometimes. I'd rather play it's almost like procrastination. So I'm sort of working on New York Noir, coding, quite often recently, doing coding that's not exactly fun. It's sort of like the fun part is that 80% first part where you're adding new features, everything is fun. And then there's a big chunk of time towards the end, which is just sort of fixing bugs, fixing little small things. And it can be a little bit exhausting. And often I'd rather get on the channel, play a game. I have to stop myself so that I get other stuff done, other work-related stuff. So lately I haven't been feeling the happiest regarding how I'm spending my time. I'm trying to fix that, but sometimes that's just the nature of life. It can't always be thrilling. KC says, I'm just getting into the genre from narrative computer games. I'm intrigued by the play-by-mail. Could do with an intro to that subgenre. Unfortunately, we've basically lost our best play-by-mail mystery game, which we didn't realize how good it was when we had it. You can watch our playthroughs. A company called Murders by Mail put out 3 cases that they funded on Kickstarter. There was a Sherlock Holmes case, there was an LA noir case set in the 50s, and then there was a cozy mystery called The Blinded Birder. Those were the quintessential play-by-mail mystery game cases. The genre of play-by-mail in general, play-by-mail games, is a fascinating one that goes back to the 70s or so. There are a couple books on it, but there really aren't very many pure mystery games. But Murders by Mail did one based on the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective style, and it was shockingly good. And I don't think we realized when we were playing it how rare it was and how fragile it was. And that company seems like their website is still up, but it seems like they're not very active. And maybe that's because it was hard to make money on that system. But it's sort of a shame that we lost them. And I'm trying to write the software to support that kind of game with the New York Noir. All the New York Noir tools should support play-by-mail games like the games that Murders by Mail produced. And I hope we will eventually get to that point where we can offer those kinds of games. And mainly because I'd like to play them. So the more people we have writing cases for that system, then we can play them on this channel. Right now, there are no full play-by-mail mystery games like that let you play a game like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, where you can go places, where you can make decisions. There are a couple of mail-based story games like Dear Holmes. You don't do anything, but you get a letter each month and the story unfolds. There are a couple of new horror ones that have come out, Scare Mail, and then there's another one. And then Dear Holmes is the classic Sherlock Holmes one. But you don't make decisions on those games. You just read the story. What else do people want to talk about? It almost feels like we should force ourselves to sit here for an hour so that the class questions will raise their hand. So let's do that. We're 40 minutes in. We're going to stay here for 20 minutes, even if it's just in silence. There's nothing wrong with that. So you got 20 minutes to eat your breakfast or whatever you do. Normally with my streams late at night, I think of them as mainly providing background for people who have trouble sleeping. What do you want to talk about? I mean, yes, we'll find stuff to talk about. Most of the point of this whole channel is just experimental. What happens when you get in front of a camera? Let's talk a little bit about, if we've got nothing better to talk about, Netflix shows and stuff. I've been watching, it's not on Netflix, it's on one of the services, Slow Horses, which is a spy show, but I hate it. Lots of people love it. I sometimes I watch these shows and I really hate them. And then, I mean, I watch them. It's not like I want to like it. Maybe that's the better way to say it. Like when I say I hate it, I mean, it feels like I might want to watch it. Parts of it is good. Gary Oldman is good, but boy, it feels like that is just so, it's just terribly written. It's such a waste. But the reviews are glowing. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you like it. Like on paper, it looks good. Gary Oldman looks good, but what a waste. I just feel like it's just terrible writing. Do you spend time on freelance coding as work? I do. I've been doing less of it recently. I have a website that I spent many years, over a decade, working on, called donationcoder.com, which was a donationware software. You can use the software for free, but you can optionally donate to support it. That's sort of where my heart lies with most of this stuff. It's not a good business plan, but it is a good way to meet interesting people. But Donation Coder is sort of wound down as I've switched over to, it's hard for me to multitask. So most of my free time now is spent working on New York Noir stuff and then occasionally freelance coding. I saw you played Stranger Things and didn't like it that much. Did you watch the show? Well, I definitely did not like the board game, Stranger Things, the Upside Down. Greg and I played it. I don't think either of us liked it very much. I was a big fan of the first couple seasons of Stranger Things. Now I'm completely sick of it. I cannot force myself to watch the latest season. They're really dragging it out. And boy, there's something that happens. You know what? It happens to shows. It feels like people become caricatures of themselves. And I feel like that's what happens to these shows and stuff. I don't know what it is, whether they find what works, the attitude, the gimmick, and then it just gets exaggerated and becomes tiresome. But maybe that's more a measure of the viewer being tired of it. I don't know, but I liked Stranger Things first season or two. I just cannot get myself to watch it. What's coming out soon? The reason I'm not going to spend so much time here talking about new Kickstarter mystery games and stuff like that is because now that I do that tabletop mystery game news segment, I feel like you can watch that segment for new updates on upcoming games, and then that's sort of what's happened here. These updates have gotten splintered apart. So this one won't talk so much about new games. George says, Fate of the Fellowship playthrough with Greg. Well, that would make sense. Greg and I don't play games anymore together, but both of us are huge fans of Pandemic. Greg happens to be a super fan of Lord of the Rings, so I suspect you'll find on Greg's channel some discussion of Fate of the Fellowship, and he'll give his thoughts on it. Whether I end up playing it on this channel, I don't know. I do miss playing games with Greg. It's just adult friendships become difficult. If you're young or if you have good friendships, boy, you have to work at them and don't take them lightly. Sometimes things break and they're not so easy to fix. Marlene says, what if we start our own formula, kind of like make a simple story, but the clues are pulled out of a hat? Okay, don't know what that means. Fake Alex says, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed your playthrough of Hunt to Kill or Curtain Call. Well, Curtain Call was probably the best narrative story that we've played in 4 years on this channel. I mean, in my opinion, maybe not everyone will agree. We played some really good ones, but boy, Curtain Call was something quite special. And the writers behind Curtain Call, clearly that was a labor of love. And Curtain Call is out of print, but you can still get it on eBay occasionally, and it may come back into print. Or you can watch our playthrough. My review is not up of Curtain Call yet, but it has been recorded and will be up in the next couple weeks. But that was a very deep story told really well. If you like story, adult, pathos, psychology, I don't want to set, I mean, I've already set expectations too high. You can't go into these games with high expectations, but the main takeaway from Curtain Call that I have is not so much that it was an amazing story. It's that a lot of people love the story. But people told me it's easy. And I really think that's a mistake. I think that's underestimating Curtain Call. And in my review, I talked about if you just, there are some games we have now learned. Woodlock University behind me is a good example. There are some games where the questions that the game asks to get to the end to solve the case only cover a very small amount of the actual things that can be figured out about the game. And Curtain Call was like that. You could go play Curtain Call, or this game here, Woodlock University for that matter, and just focus on answering the questions at the end of each part, each box, and you could get through it, and you may have missed huge chunks of it. So I think for Curtain Call is one of those games that you need to have someone else to play with and take very seriously trying to understand everything. And I think if you do that, you may find that it's got one of the most satisfying human stories that there is. Nelson was the one that found the detective for a day, had a new case. Are there any mystery games, any games in general that you are interested in playing? I hope, so one of the videos I thought that I would record soon is games that need more content. And we talked about Murders by Mail, but there's another one behind me right there, Suspects. are certain games that sort of stick with you, that you sort of miss when you've eaten them all, when you've consumed it all. And I've had my Suspects has 3 boxes of cases and some miniature boxes that haven't made its way to English. But I wanted to love the first 2 boxes a lot and had a lot to complain about. This last box here, I really liked quite a bit, but some of these games have their own style. And the style is interesting and different enough that you miss it when it's gone. I think we will get more Suspects cases, but they're taking their time with this latest box, with this new box, which isn't announced. And I hope they do produce more because I would like to play more. The Masters of Crime, there's some new boxes coming out soon. We've almost finished. We've played 3 of them now on the channel. We have 1 more to play on the channel, Rapture. I wouldn't be surprised if the new boxes, Mosquito and Hollywood, aren't available at Gen Con, 1 or 2 of them. So I think probably we'll play the 4th Masters of Crime game in July, and then maybe there'll be some new boxes to play, but a very good series that I look forward to playing more of. Casey says, you've sold me on backstories for sure, but also on the humor. My partner's French, and I wonder if it would be even better in the original language. Yeah, I mean, if you have someone that can play it in French, I think you probably should try backstories in French. I worry sometimes when I say too many good things about it, the game, that it's going to set the expectations too high. But I really did love backstories. I think we will play we'll play Backstories Emerald and a Wedding Anniversary again on this channel to look down some other paths we haven't. Casey says, I wish I could be new to board games again, in particular playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1 for the first time. What a thing to get to experience. Well, Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and 2 are my favorite board game experiences of all time. That was the first Legacy game I've ever played, and those just blew me away. I think those are masterpieces, and I think there are things to learn from them, but if you love Pandemic Legacy is a very special game. You really need to play it with someone else who likes it, but very special. If you are a viewer of this channel who's focused on mystery and narrative games, and you're not sure what pure board games to play, I think Pandemic Legacy might be something you should try because it is very special. It has a little bit of narrative through it, but it's a totally special experience with the legacy elements. Casey says, I was replying to Eliza's comments. Eliza says, new to board games on the channel. Maybe you've answered this too many times. What are your favorite board games? Would you recommend for someone just starting out playing with 2 people? I mean, Pandemic is my favorite cooperative board game, and Pandemic Legacy, I don't know if you should start with the Pandemic. You can see the Pandemic Legacies here behind me, but it wouldn't be a crazy idea to start with Pandemic Legacy Season 1. If you've got a partner, that is a board game. It is absolutely a board game. It's a legacy board game, so things change between the games over 12 episodes or so. You don't have to know Pandemic before you play. It'll teach it to you. But talk about an interesting way to jump into board games. But you could just try regular Pandemic first. But I think you might love Pandemic Legacy even if you don't love Pandemic. For competitive board games for 2, I have a couple that are my favorite. My other favorite cooperative board game for 2 is Codenames Duet, which I have coded a play on paper version. If you go to Board Game Geek in the file section for Codenames Duet, you can get some books that you can print out, so each person gets a book and you play it. It's a word game, but one of my favorites. Codenames in general is a great team-based party game. You can see some old videos on this channel about Greg and I did of our favorite cooperative games and our favorite competitive games. But these days, the two-player game, small card games, or 2 or 3 that I tend to recommend that are some of my favorites that I've played recently. For 2 players, Fox in the Forest, which is a trick-taking game for 2 players. Tiny portable little game, little stack of 33 cards or so. I'm not a big fan of trick-taking games, but Fox in the Forest is quite fun. You got to play it multiple times. Not Fox in the Forest Duet, though. That I don't like. And the other little competitive 2-player quick game that I really love is Jaipur. Tiny small box game. But you can watch my other review of more longer form competitive games. Terraforming Mars and Icky and Orleans. If you play, Orleans has a very good, it's one of the few games that has a good cooperative and competitive expansion. But you can watch our videos of our favorite competitive and cooperative games. Did you play all of the Bureau of Investigation fan cases? Yes, we did play all of the Bureau of Investigation, all of the normal content, and then all of the fan content. Do you play any narrative video games? I really don't. Occasionally they get recommended to me on the channel or on the Discord, but I just don't. There are a couple video games that I play, very few, but I tend to play these stealth sniper games. For me, Sniper Elite is is one of my favorite. The one game I play that I love that's got some narrative in it is the Mafia series, which I love also. It's a shooter, but it's sort of a throwback to the old 1920s and then 1950s and 1960s Mafia storylines. I'm a big fan of those, and I have played GTA games. Eliza says, we actually got Pandemic Hot Zone and really like it. All right, well, I'm not a fan of Pandemic Hot Zone, so if you like Pandemic Hot Zone, go to... Forbidden Island was a spin-off of Pandemic-like ideas. Okay, so Eliza, if you're looking for a special experience and you liked Pandemic Hot Zone, go get Pandemic Legacy Season 1. If you have another person to play with, it's going to take you some time to play through the whole thing, but I'd like to hear your experience playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1, Season 2 just as good, but that's a totally different experience. It's like your mind may be blown. How about solo games, says Marty. I'm not, I don't really follow the solo games. I'm not really a solo gamer. That's the odd thing. But when I play games on the channel, it doesn't feel like playing them alone. But solo games have gotten much more popular recently. One game that I do get an itch occasionally for a dungeon crawler like game. But I don't love the grindy combat stuff. Like if we look at Seventh Citadel, there's a long campaign. The last threat took us 80 hours to play, but I'm in it more for the exploration and less for the grindy combat. There's something about the rolling dice, doing the attacks that I get very tired of very soon, especially when not playing with another person. But one of the games that I had my eye on, so I keep looking for a sort of dungeon crawl game that's 90% exploration and very little dice rolling. But one of the games that was recommended to me was Tainted Grail. And there's a new set, King of something, King of Ruin or something that was recommended. I am getting a little bit of an itch to explore one of those. I'm very curious to try Vantage on this channel, though, to see what we think of it. And anyone who's a fan of these games who hasn't played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective needs to, because you might not love it, but for some of us, that's the magic game here that does it all. And of course, New York Noir, which was inspired by Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and Gumshoe, which you can see behind me there. The tablecloth looks a bit like the map from Consulting Detective. Well, the tablecloth is a mat, and it is a mat, a neoprene mat, with the map from Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. That's exactly what it is. Custom made on a neoprene mat. I don't use it when we play board games because it's too big. It's 4 feet by 3 feet. But it's fun to play on it, and it's sort of it's a little too busy to use when we're actually playing other games. So I mainly just use this as the cover on my table. I love Baker Street Irregulars, but the original Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective felt to me like a great idea done horribly. Holmes chats about some absolute nonsense in that game. Well, I completely get it. I completely get it. For me, I think I can explain a little bit of the magic of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the original. Some people don't quite vibe with it. The best example I can give is if you watch the playthrough on this channel of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Adventures by Gaslight. And Jonathan Warner, mostly just one other person and I play that, and we really took our time playing that. But there are lots of things that you could complain about it, but you're essentially traveling back in time with those original cases, not only to 1800s where Sherlock Holmes is, but you're sort of traveling back in time to the 1980s when this game was written. And there's something very interesting, very cool about that feeling that you're playing this game that was written in the 80s, that the people who wrote it are dead, and they're writing back in the 1800s with a very distinct style. When it works, when you focus in on enough of it, it feels quite magical. So sometimes those games don't click, but occasionally you feel like you're someplace that no one else has been. And there's something, when you have those moments in Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective where you lose yourself, and part of it is because of those long narratives. You've got a page worth of narrative that you're reading, and sometimes when it works, and you're spending so much time in this world, and you're jumping around to locations, talking to people, occasionally you get sort of lost, and it feels like you're traveling in time. And for me, those are like those moments of when you're in that flow of being in a different world at a different time. And the longer the case is, the more that happens. But it feels like you've portaled into a different world. And for me, when that happens, that's the best. What other hobbies? What about the rest of the group here? Well, I'd like to hear more people what hobbies you're into. Adventures by Gaslight was not written by Gary Grady. Well, that's a good point. Adventures by Gaslight was written by a different group based on the whole system. Adventures by Gaslight is a bit of a masterpiece, but it's also a bit of a mess. And Jonathan and Warner and I wrote a big, long 70-page PDF addendum to Adventures by Gaslight. So if you do ever play Adventures by Gaslight, which is out of print but can be gotten, you might want to download our PDF patch fix that tries to improve the game and the ending. What other hobbies do I have? That's a good question. Do I have other hobbies? I mean, most of my life is spent programming. So I have a couple of hobbies. If you go on this channel, you can see some of my videos about an electronics project that I wrote, an Arduino-based espresso scale project, and my background, my academic background is in artificial intelligence and neural networks. I got out right before, a decade before it became the most important thing in the world, which is an odd feeling. Ice cream, yes, there's ice cream that I made in the freezer here. Black cherry, coffee, and mint chocolate chip with Oreo. Those are my favorite flavors to make. Jacques and Nadine Thorat wrote Adventures by Gaslight. Where are they? Why can't we get an interview from them? I think it was case 3, where it was so illogical to me it became hard to enjoy the rest of the game. Yeah, well, there are some wacky cases in that first box. Space Cowboys did reprint the Sherlock Holmes games, and they messed up with a couple of them. You can see our reviews. We recently finished all the cases in the West End Adventures, which is sad. It's very sad to finish up the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective cases because there's a finite number of the originals. Now, the good news is fans have been making new fan-made cases for Sherlock Holmes consulting detectives, and there doesn't seem to be any end to it. We've played a lot of them on this channel. I've reviewed a bunch, talked about my favorite ones. I made a video called The Best Kept Secret in Tabletop Mystery Narrative Games, and that is that the print and play fan-made cases for Sherlock Holmes consulting detective are great, and there's a lot of them, and we'll be playing more of them on this channel. Let's see, all into coding. Well, fascinating things are happening with programming and AI now. And the AI is getting very good at certain things. I mean, I program to get things done, but also because I enjoy it. But now the there's certain things that the AI is getting really good at and is actually very helpful to, especially for using some esoteric libraries. Like New York Noir software makes heavy use of LaTeX, the typesetting language, and there's some very esoteric, weird, unpleasant stuff going on with LaTeX coding. And it is very helpful to be able to go into ChatGPT and say, what is this insane error and how to fix it? Sometimes it gets it wrong, but you can ask it to do things 10 times the way you couldn't ask a human. And more often than not, it is helpful. I watched a Netflix biopic. I guess that's what they called him, called Hitchcock. Starring with Anthony Hopkins playing Alfred Hitchcock. And I would recommend it. It's a very good movie. It's sort of about Hitchcock getting Psycho made. And I didn't realize I knew some of the stories behind how Psycho got made, but I didn't realize how much of a risk it was for him and how much of a shift it was for him to make Psycho. But the other thing I realized while watching this, so Anthony Hopkins is made up with makeup to look like Hitchcock and talk like Hitchcock. And I would recommend it. But I realized, oh, that's it. We've got maybe 5 more years of maybe 10 at the most, at the outside of humans, human actors being made up to look like, to recreate famous people in history. Because in 10 years, it'll just be the AI. But in 10 years, we'll be able to watch custom bespoke movies made with our favorite actors. And you won't be able to tell. I mean, it's just happening. It's getting that good at such a rapid pace that it's clear that the whole world is going to get turned upside down. All movies and media, you're going to be able to make a top quality movie by yourself in front of a computer just by throwing some ideas at an AI. It's really shocking. I don't know what's going to happen with the world, but it's going to destroy it and remake it at the same time. We're also learning that humans are not much more, are broken just like the AIs, which is the other sort of shocker. As someone who spent a lot of time in AI and brain theory and trying to see how you can make computers think like humans, it's just, we very quickly went from it's hard to it's unstoppable and coming in the next few years. And ChatGPT, the large language models, have shown us that basically human high-level cognition and language is probably not that different. Anyway, that's a different topic. Will we still have favorite actors if they're AI? Well, I don't know. It's all going to change. I don't know what that will mean. Yeah, I mean, the movies have been, I have not liked, I am not a fan. In fact, I also just watched Thunderbolts, the new Marvel movie. Boy, I just hate those Marvel movies. I hate them. I hate that they're basically comedies, but in 10 years, you'll write your own movies. You'll say to the AI, this is the kind of movie I want. You know, I love The Godfather, Year of the Dragon. You'll just, you'll tell the AI your favorite movies and it'll create movies for you. Maybe you'll be asked to be in the movie. But I agree. I'm happy my life has spanned pre-internet. Well, I tend to agree with you as well. We may consider ourselves the lucky ones that got to experience both before the AI and after the AI took over everything. I don't know that I like the AI world you're describing. Well, lots of people are not happy about AI, like all the artists, but it's coming for all of us. The only people that are going to escape the devastation are the manual labor people. It's fascinating that we thought the robots were coming for all the manual labor jobs. And then before we knew it, now all the creative jobs are going to be wiped out first, and then the robots. But there's no fighting it. It's too late. You just can't predict what's going to happen. And as someone who's not a fan of humans, it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. The whole world could get destroyed. I mean, what happens when no one is needed for a job? But I feel like we're already there. We're already none of it makes sense to me. None of the economy makes sense. None of the jobs that make sense. The entire United States is like built on bureaucracy. It's like most of the workforce is healthcare, middle management people, and university, not teachers, but have anyone seen the charts of like the university? Like you could chart the student growth, the professor growth, and then there's the bureaucracy growth. is exponential. Like people just doing anyway. I don't want to. It's there's no point talking into it, but none of it makes sense to me. So the AI apocalypse is coming, and I don't know what's going to happen. It may be terrible. The AI won't have consciousness. Well, I spent a good chunk of my while I was in graduate school doing neural networks, brain theory. I think there's lots of people that think, oh, the computers will never be conscious. Consciousness is something that we don't understand. I think that's completely wrong. I think it's gonna turn out very quickly. We're gonna find out that the computers are just as conscious as humans, and consciousness is just a narrative story the brain makes up to make sense of what's going on. Anyway, Josha Bosch is my favorite current AI researcher talking about consciousness and AI, but bureaucracy is the way forward. My favorite movie of the last 2 years has been Reptile. But I was recently looking at rewatching Sicario, which I also love. Both with Benicio del Toro. The medical field is not going anywhere. Well, the AIs are going to very quickly outperform all diagnosis. So you might need the actual surgeons, human surgeons, but you're not going to need. Anyway, let's not spend too much time. Let's not go crazy with the AI. There's lots of content on YouTube, AI people that know more than me. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Another new game that just came in from Amazon here, you can see, is Murder in Tinseltown. I think, if you remember, we played the Crypto Killer on this channel, which had it's another one of these small card-based games where you interact with things. And what was different about the Crypto Killer is it had this big chart, and when you wanted to interact one card with another, you cross-referenced it, and it told you what card to grab or what paragraph to read in a little book. And I think that's the same kind of system there. So I'm sort of curious to play that. I get curious after playing City of Six Moons. If you watch my review, one of the punchlines of my review is that this is almost like the worst implementation of a great idea. And I tried to get people in the Discord interested in designing a game series, a system, maybe even a play-by-mail system that had the flavor of City of Six Moons, in that it was sort of all alien language that you had to sort of figure out how to make work. So if you've got a game design bug in you and you're interested in something, you might stop by the Discord, which might be a good time to also mention that there is a local board game convention here in Champaign, actually two. One is Tabletop Central, which is in September. I will be attending that here in a neighboring town, Savoy. I will be attending that with New York Noir. If you're interested in playing New York Noir in person or talking about writing cases for New York Noir, and you're in the Midwest or especially near me, you might consider coming to Tabletop Central. There's another little board game convention here called Winter War that tends to be in January or February. More board games, but a bunch of board games, and I'll be at that as well if you are in the Champaign, Illinois area. Anything else people would be interested in playing? Another two-player little competitive card-based game that I would recommend is Hanami Koji. Yes, Casey points out that this idea of games where you're just presented with an alien language to make sense of does have some good implementations in computer games. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Well, we're 1 hour, 20 minute. We could probably wrap this up here. Is anything else anyone wants to talk about? Rob is listing a couple of those PC games that are revolve around the concept of understanding alien language. Chance of Sonar. So if you're going to be at Gen Con or at any of these conventions I've mentioned, drop me an email, let me know so I can bring you a little cup. Do come say hello to me if you see me somewhere. Just don't even think about it. Come say hello. No matter what I'm doing, especially if it looks like I'm busy talking to my friends, it will be better if you come say hello. Just for a minute. We don't have to have a long conversation. If you're interested in being part of the New York Noir stuff, writing a case, play testing, we'd love to have you. There's a Board Game Geek page for New York Noir. If you just search for it, you'll find it. You can click the little heart, become a fan of it, get notified when it's finally produced, or learn how to use the tools. If you're a programmer, you want to help us code the play-by-mail support. Love to have more help. If you have suggestions for the channel, you can email me, or better yet, post them on the Co-op for Two Guild on Board Game Geek. Thank you all for hanging out with me, keeping me company for a bit. I'll see you on the next video.